Hello everyone, and welcome to the Deep Blue Renegade podcast. My name is Molly, also known as the Deep Blue Renegade, and I'd like to welcome you guys to episode 411. Today is Saturday, May 7th, 2022, and I'm glad you could join me today. Oh, I'm realizing I'll gently douche. Yeah, no, it's a pretty blistery day today, but whatever. Gotta walk in early, so that is good. But what would it be? I'm in the state now where, this week has been a little bit chaotic because, what would it be? I wrapped up the sleeve on my water bearer sweater, and that meant, what would it be, that I didn't have a good walk around project, so I was spinning on the walk, I brought the crazy lace on the walk, and today I was working on getting all the stitches picked up correctly, and I was preparing to start doing the short rows, and then realized my count was weird, so I tried to pick up the right number of stitches from the outset. But there's something goofy going on. So we'll have to fix that. But this is my water bearer sweater. It's out of Madeline Tosh DK Twist in the deep colorway. And who knows what side I'm showing you and why. There we go. So this is one completed sleeve. And a very clean finish for my little I-cord. So, can you tell where my I-cord began? Sure. Because there's just a little bit of a distortion where I ended up casting on the stitches. But other than that, it's pretty solid and is totally a non-rolling, very nice finish to an edge. So, very interesting. So there's that, but because I've picked up stitches on this side, I can't really put it on to show. And honestly, it's going to take a moment, I think, to try to figure out what in the world went pear-shaped. So I have, since I was on my walk, I didn't have markers handy, and so I outlined So it's the case where I'm supposed to pick up a certain number along the top, a certain number along the sides, a certain number along the bottom. And I'm wondering if I picked up too many stitches, so I picked up too many from the bottom on the flip side of it. That is my theory right now. So I need to sit down and figure out where the extra is and what exactly I want to do about it. And where the extra is in a place where I'm actually doing decreases already. But I would rather just have the pickup right because I got the pickup right on the other side. And the numbers should all match because when I started the fronts, the numbers matched. Or when I joined the fronts, the numbers all matched. Because nothing like a complicated pattern, or nothing like a complicated pattern to force you to have the correct number of stitches. But I think last I checked, I had 6 extra stitches, which is quite a bit. Yeah, I have 6 extra stitches, maybe even 7. So that is excessive. So I am gonna have to figure that out. Or would it be the case where I might have to do the same thing I ended up doing for the other sleeve, which is go through, decide what stitches I'm going to be dropping, which may just be the case where I decide to drop the ones that are sort of in this like cast on nether region. And go from there, because there's not too much or whatever. That's probably the simplest way to do it. And the moment I have marked out, it seems like everything is even and correct on the sides, so it shouldn't be too crazy, but I was trying to problem solve on the walk, and then like I got as far as like counting out stitches and tying pieces of yarn in the places so that I could focus. And what it be, as is typical after the walk, there's a lot of baby tending that needs to occur. So today's baby tending involved making sure he was fed, and then dumping him on the Deersea level 1, him promptly peeing on every showers and baths for everyone, and I think now he's taking on to so what would it be? Just the way things go. So there has not been time to reevaluate my choices and that sort of thing, but it shouldn't be too terrible. Since I have limited it to just a more focused area, it shouldn't be too bad to get that all fixed up. So but we'll make it work. So it was exciting to wrap a sleeve, and this is how much yarn I have extra after the sleeve, so may rewind this ball. There's quite a long tail hanging out on this, so I might rewind this ball so it's nice and tidy and just keep it in reserve for the time being. It's probably going to be worked into the body. The rest of this is probably going to be worked into the body. But what I'll probably end up doing in terms of my alternating skein strategy is when I resume the body again, I'll put a new skein on. So the goal being that I have decent amount of skein alternation in the body, because that's where it would be most obvious if something went weird. I'm using single skeins because I can for both of the sleeves. I did use single skeins for the fronts, but I alternated on the back, and now I'm alternating the rest of the body. So shouldn't be too crazy. So Water Bearer, Jacqueline Sees Luck, happy so far. I probably, or would it be, I am doing the +4 to 5 inch bust starts on this, so it will be a little bit, the sweater will be a little bit bigger in the front, and she doesn't have you decrease that away. But I don't think that's going to be a big deal. At that point, the fabric is just sort of free flowing and goes where it needs to go anyways. And I have this on 2 needles so that it makes it easier to try on. So I'm sort of knitting like floppy straights. Hair everywhere. So, whatever. So this looks a little bit hilarious because that shawl collar is distorting things. But coming along, brioche. I will be able to resume the brioche soon, and that'll be nice. And hopefully getting it, whatever, out of this state into the next should be fine. It turns out my in the round gauge and in the flat gauge are not different. which is helpful, I suppose. Surprising, but helpful. So it should, or would it be? It should be back in a mindless, walkable state pretty soon. I can get away with a decent amount of stuff on my little walks, so that's fine. What I forgot to do was do a little check-in on my Scheherazade. So I have knit at least 2 charts, and 2 charts make a repeat on this bad boy. I feel like my bead usage is becoming alarming, and I really need to take a photo of this today because it is much bigger and prettier than what it was before. So I'm knitting. This is Anna Victoria pattern that I'm knitting on US 1.5, 2.5 millimeter needles. And this has resulted in me having a much tighter gauge than the pattern and needing to do way more repeats of the pattern in order to have a substantial shawl. But you can see the dark teal to green ombre that we have going on here, which is super lovely. It's definitely not long enough yet. And because I have a tight gauge, and because at some, like after you finish this body chart, you switch into like a fixed number of rows pattern, so a tight gauge with a fixed number of rows results in a smaller object. If you have a little bit more flexibility there, it wouldn't matter as much. So this is going to be a monster. We'll assume so looks like I have 7 pattern repeats in. I'll probably do 1 more before I do a weigh-in, because it makes sense to do the weigh-in after the first chart, or after you finish the first chart, because the first chart leads into the border chart, or the border transition chart. So 2 repeats, and that'll give me a chance to check my math, and I'll have lots of places to check in on my math, if that makes any sense, because what's going to end up happening is I can check and make sure that my yarn usage after doing 7 repeats squares with what my projection was at the beginning. So the further I get along, the more accurate my projection is going to be. Because what that boils down to is that every time I get a little bit more data, then that sort of narrows the uncertainty of making a massive shawl. So not too much interesting here. It'd just be the case where, what would it be? It always feels like I come back around to a beading row really fast. And the beading rows are slow going, but such is life. So, but I am getting the feeling or whatever, so it'd be the case where, like this was probably filled up to like the barcode, so pretty substantial bead usage as I'm going to go, and it's going to accelerate. I still haven't wrote a bead. I'll wait till I run out of beads before I make an order, and then I'll have to add some lines in my little calculator thing for bead usage. But that shouldn't be too crazy. Get it close enough where you can actually see the beads, maybe? They're being very subtle, aren't they? um, Whatever. This is what Instagram is for. Sometimes the webcam disappoints. So, it hasn't gone a lot of progress, it feels like, this week. It looks like I just finished a beading row. So this could have been taken along on a walk, but I think, what would it be? Sometimes it's a little hard predicting how far I'll get on a project so that it'll be ready for that sort of situation. So it's probably better to keep using the sweater as my knock around, carry around sort of project, and the lace shawl for situations in which I can focus. So, for example, tomorrow I am celebrating Mother's Day by hanging out with my knitting friends. Whatever. Mother's Day in the United States. Hey ho. And so I'll bring the Lacy project with me for that because I will not be interrupted during the daylight hours, and that'll be lovely. But when it comes to, what would it be? Yeah, it's just a little bit inconvenient during the daytime to have that, but sometimes it's also the best project, so hard to tell. What will be great is when I get the hat on the needles, but I have not cleared the desk sufficiently in order to get all the ball winding stuff out, so we'll get it out eventually. Let's see. So that is all of the knitting. I have intentions of winding yarn, but life has intervened. So I ended up needing to start a new cop on this project shortly after, I think, well, who knows what day it was or what was going on or why, but I was working on spinning another ball onto the cop, and I was just like constantly breaking the single, and so be the case where that's an indication not getting enough twist in, or there's so much weight that you have to put way more twist in or hold everything together. And so while I would have liked to get a little bit more fiber onto it so that I could just have 3, it looks like I'm going to have 4 cups in the end. So this is a mixture of Hobbledehoy batlings in the Gandalf colorway and Bungalow Farms Merino Angora that I dyed a purple color. And so, what would it be? So this is another cop done. I'm actually ahead on the spindle in comparison to the wheel because I didn't get started on the wheel last night. For whatever reason, there's been, or what would it be? I think because of the cooking every night thing, which is done now, like getting everything all sorted has been taking longer, so I've been hopping on later and less stuff is getting done. Whatever. So I feel like, where would it be? Like, one of these cups is bigger than the other, and I think this is the one I just pulled off, but they're actually pretty similar in size in the grand scheme of things, so I managed to fish out the leader from there. That resulted in, I think, a little bit more chaos on one of these, but not the end of the world. So I think both of these are a little bit more than an ounce. I haven't explicitly weighed them to see, so not too bad. So halfway done with the spindle portion of the project and on my way for the next. Like my ball of fluff is definitely, my bag of fluff is definitely significantly decreased, which is good. So just slowly but surely working away on that. And then I'll be able to do, I guess, 2 balls of this guy when the time comes. So we can bring this in close now because it's off the wheel. So this is the Voyager colorway in that same blurple. But also what I ended up discovering with this is that red number 3 ends up fading. So it is going to be, the finished yarn is probably going to end up being a slightly different color. And it's not like the red number 3 shows off on camera as a part of the purpliness of it all. So I figured it was good to stash this in the bag with the other ones. And so this one is also reasonably depleted, and I figured it was as good a time as any in order to do a bobbin change. And so this is going to make it real easy to do the 4-ply I plan on doing. And I'll end up doing the 4-ply on my jumbo so that I don't need to break the yarn when the time comes. I haven't yet succumbed to doing it all on the wheel yet. Or what would be, there's always the option of oh my gosh, this needs to get finished. But not yet. I think if anything spurs me to finish, it will be that Tour de Fleece comes around again. And technically speaking, I think I started this project as a part of the theme for the Fun Onions Tour de Fleece. And so this ends up representing actually a pretty significant chunk for my spinning plans for the year. Because, or would it be, so be the case where I'm doing the completely twisted arbitrary spin the bin. I put most of the fiber from the bin in there, so I think in the end, I think it ends up counting for like 7 ounces. 7 ounces of the project count for that. 2 ounces of my Rambouillet count for that. Other such fun. And then I have another sweater spin queued up for the final pound, which I will do on the wheel. Yeah. definitely doing that on the wheel. So not too crazy there, but just making sure that I'm pacing myself appropriately and that sort of thing. I'm not too worried at this point about falling behind, but it would be nice if I finished up the sweater spin in the summer months. And then I could sort of have a freestyle spinning for the rest of the year, which is sort of pleasant. Figure out what ends up sounding good. Yeah, decent amount. So that is the story there. So almost time again for what would be, or it'll be a good round of spinning on the wheel for that. It would be, I tried to be more mindful this week about getting more than just 1 ball of fluff spun on the spindle project, so I did 2. This may be a sign that I should try like a little bit harder, but it actually worked out fairly well as a walk around project too. So could could work for that as well, and that would be a good way of getting a little bit more progress done on that front. Let's see. And not too much other than that. So, made an important sweater milestone this week. An important spindle milestone this week. I guess technically speaking, I did take the bobbin off last week, so maybe just slowly moving forward. We're nowhere near any milestones for the shawl. I think the next milestone for the shawl will be running out of beads. What would it be? Keep on keeping on. Let's see. And then I will have my stash dash finish with my socks. I think stash dash ends up starting sort of late this year, so I think it actually starts on the 28th. So there's still a decent amount of time to move the ball forward on my various projects, but not a lot of time. And probably some of that is dependent on what would it be? Being motivated to craft in the evenings. As you do. So, don't anticipate any changes to the recording schedule. Would it be as we get closer to the end of leave, it may be the case where I need to switch up my schedule, but we'll see. We'll take it slow. Depending on whatever life changes, all of that. It's been lately in the back of my mind about like, okay, how in the world does this all work? But we'll eventually figure it out, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. Not a lot coming to mind. I wonder if you guys can hear the whistling wind. Definitely a bad day to go to the beach or the top of the hill. So, with that, I hope you guys have a lovely week, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. So, take care, guys. Bye-bye.